Hi, I'm Lippy.
And I'm Grumpy. Together, we're Lippy and Grumpy Do Podcasting.
This week's sandwich feedback, the F1 accidents, disappointment of cooking, and Christmas films.
First, an apology from last week. Now, because of lockdown, we use Zoom to record this, and then there's some editing and various mushing that goes on afterwards. And as I was going through the tracks, I noticed there was some dropout. So if the editing sounded a bit odd, I know we referred to one of my friends as Orange Marshal, and that didn't come out. So I do apologise because there was quite a lot about his caravan exploits. So hopefully we won't have the same problem this week.
Fingers crossed, but do know that I made some cracking comments and I am hilarious, but it cut it out. It cut it out.
Well, it must be some sort of Zoom humour filter then. So we seem to have had quite a bit of feedback this week from Davros and the Screaming Tomato, and also from Orange Marshal 2, as we shall call him. So first of all, Davros goes into Radio 1 again, and it seems that the root of his beef with Radio 1 is the Autotune, which does something to make people's voices sound better.
I understand where he's coming from there. If you hear, I think it's the same with everything now. When you hear them on a CD, they sound perfect. You go and see them live and you can just be astonished by what they actually sound like. And it seems sometimes like 20, 30 times better in real life than it is on the CD.
Sometimes it's the sound system. If you go to a stadium or outdoor concert, actually managing the sound is very, very difficult. It's not an easy job at all. And I've been to Donington about 30 years ago, and the sound was dreadful during the day, but it progressively got better as the names got bigger. So by the end of the evening, when Pink Floyd was playing, it was absolutely perfect. So going back in time, there may have been a bit of that. But it is difficult. The friend of mine's friend of a friend who's in the music business, he specialises in the live concerts and how that's done. So it's not always what's being played is what you hear through the speakers. So he's developed some software that does some jiggery pokery. I know no more than that, so that you get the best performance possible. So it's not quite live, but it's perhaps pre-recorded, but not necessarily from the CD. There isn't somebody at the back with a CD player and a very large amplifier. So that would be dreadful. Anyway, we digress a little bit as usual from Radio 1. Sandwiches seems to have triggered one or two comments. Davros seems to favour a tuna, mayo, red onion and tomato sandwich, and I think a lot of that is to do with its after effect. He also said the oddest sandwich he's ever eaten was a homemade cottage cheese and Marmite sandwich, which just sounds awful. Wrapped in cling film and left forgotten on the dash of a Land Rover for an hour or two in high summer. Now, I would have thought the cottage cheese would either have curdled or gone back to milk. Well, it is pretty curdled, but would it curdle more or would it just go completely runny and saturate everything?
I feel like it would just turn into milk.
That was my feeling too. It's not an experiment I want to try.
God, no. No, I'm not a fan of cottage cheese at the best of time.
Oh, I quite like it, but not in a sandwich. It's too runny. It's the same with putting a tomato in a sandwich and then taking it to work, for example. It's all very soggy by the time you get to eat it.
Yeah, if you're going to put tomato in a sandwich, you need to be eating the sandwich within the next 5 minutes. Really.
Absolutely. Davros goes on to say that he is strongly aligned with Lippy and Grumpy that all the best sandwiches start with cheese, even before bread. So big thumbs up there, Davros. And then the Screaming Tomato in Australia got in contact and talked about something called smashed avo sandwiches, which turns out to be avocado mushed up on toast. And so it seems there's a bit of a divide in Australia over these $22 a pop avocado on toast, essentially. Yes. Don't forget there is a little... Sorry. Yeah, but that's... what's the exchange rate? We'll bring it down to, I don't know, maybe £14. I'm guessing.
Okay.
Well, for one slice... Or maybe it's two slices, who knows. But even two slices with avocado, that's quite a lot of money. So $22 a pop. And they should be saving money for a deposit to a house or flat instead. Which he does have a point, but I can see how people will get very, very irate about that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Can't we just do it at home?
Well, you could say that about expensive coffee from
True.
coffee shops that, in my view, doesn't taste that brilliant.
You might as well spend the money that you would spend on the coffee on a good coffee machine at home.
That's a very good idea. The Screaming Tomato goes on to say, personally like a bacon and banana toasty.
Do you know what? When I read that, I in my head I was like, I really want to try that. I think it would be absolutely amazing.
Now, the Screaming Tomato originates from South Africa, and I'm pretty certain that's a staple diet in South Africa. Very normal, very normal. I have a slight problem with bananas and cooking them.
It's not really cooked though, is it? It's warmed.
No, but it's mushed up, and
I love a mushy banana.
Yeah, so do I on occasions. I think the problem goes back to when I was very young, and my dad did some horrendous pudding with cooked bananas in it, and I think it's scarred me for life because I quite like a cooked banana on a barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
That's really nice. But when I think about it, I go, oh, no, I'm not going to like that. But actually, I do. Anyway, back to Davros. He goes on a little bit further and talks about What 3 Words, which is an interesting technology. It appeared a few years back. And what they've done is they've divided every 3 square metre area in the Earth and given it 3 unique words that identifies it.
Oh.
And it was sort of a bit like a technology without any use, really. And people go, well, that's really good, but how am I going to use it? Who has picked it up is the emergency services.
I have seen that, actually, the adverts.
So, which is a really good use of it. So there's an app on the phone, and all you need is GPS. I don't think you need mobile phone signal. I'm not 100% certain about that. And it will give you your location. Obviously, if you haven't got a mobile phone signal, you can't actually call for help. So
you're pretty screwed anyway.
You're in a bit of trouble.
But at least you know where you are.
You know where you are. And it's used by Premier Inns, interestingly. If you book on there, the email you get has What 3 Words for the reception, which is very useful when you arrive at one of these very modern places and you can't find the front door. It does narrow it down to within 3 square metres, which is... So you'd be able to see it, basically, which is quite good. Davros did then go on to crack an appalling joke, which I'm not even going to repeat, about teardrop caravans and teardrop explodes. You know what you did, no more. And I had another email from a friend of mine who's also a marshal, so we'll call him Orange Marshal too, to say that he really didn't like black pudding. And then about 10 minutes later, I had a WhatsApp message saying, oh, but our local butcher's does black pudding and sausage rolls, which we accidentally had a couple of weeks ago, and they are fantastic. They just taste brilliant. And in fact, I was in there today ordering a turkey and hoping to purchase some more, and they'd run out. So,
no.
I haven't heard back from him, so either he's locked himself away because it's so appalling, or he's stuffed himself so full he can't get to his phone. Who knows? But I'll have to chase him on that. So, notable events from this week. Obviously, Sunday was potentially a horrific day. I believe you saw it live, did you? Yeah,
we watch... Well, I always like to watch the starts because they're normally the most interesting. And this week, it was just something else. When it was happening... You were just watching the front runners, and then all of a sudden there was just this massive flames, explosion, and the commentators are just kind of like, oh, what's happened there? What's gone on? Who's... And then they wait, obviously, because of how horrendous it could have been. They don't show any replays until they've all been checked. He's okay. I think it was about 5 minutes before we actually saw a replay and saw that the car had been split in 2 when it hit that barrier, and how he just got some burnt hands is absolutely unbelievable. I'd burn my hands cooking. Yeah,
it is astonishing, and I think he had a burnt ankle as well, and the only reason for that is his boot came off as he's extracted himself from the wreckage. I mean, I've seen an accident at Goodwood at the revivals many years ago where this was cars from the 1930s or maybe a little bit earlier, so there's no seatbelt and there's no safety in them whatsoever, and 2 of the wheels banged, and we're standing at the end of the start-finish line looking down there, And you look up, oh, there's a straw dummy up in the air. Oh, there's a car following it. What? Oh, my God, it's the driver. So what had happened is they banged wheels and he'd been catapulted. It must have been 20 foot in the air. So he lands in front of the grandstand with the car landing not very far from him, and he's absolutely motionless. And I have never heard silence like it. The whole place just absolutely quiet. And of course, the only thing you want to hear that he's okay, and I'll come on to this again in a minute, and it took ages. The medical crew turned up, and he'd been knocked out. Picked him up, put him in the ambulance, still unconscious, took him off to hospital, and about 45 minutes later they came on the tannoy to say he's awake, he's absolutely fine, he's got a broken collarbone, and that was it. And the commentators, they did an amazing job because they're explaining about what was going on, why it was taking so long, why they don't just scoop him up and throw him in the ambulance, and also about why you can't retrofit seatbelts into 1930s race cars, because it would be pointless, to be honest. You'd have to destroy so much of the car to make it safe that you can't do it. And in terms of Formula One accidents, of course, there was Gerhard Berger in 1989 at Imola who had an incident and the car caught fire. And that was very different because you saw a bit of it. I can't remember whether they stopped transmission. They must have done. But we didn't have the social media then, so there was no other information about it whatsoever.
Yeah, so he went onto Instagram afterwards to kind of say that he's all right and prove that he was absolutely fine, and said he was actually against the halo when it first came out. But if that halo wasn't there, he wouldn't have had a head. No,
absolutely. And I noticed this afternoon there's somebody's put together a sort of a 3D mock-up of the incident, and you can see how close his head was to. Yeah, if the halo hadn't been there, that would have been it. But there's all sorts of questions about the barrier and the strength of the barrier. And as I was talking to Orange Marshal 1 on Monday, he said, the barrier deflecting like that may have absorbed enough of the impact that the deceleration didn't kill him. So there's so many elements to that. Just incredibly lucky.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe how quickly the marshals ran in. I mean, when you saw the replays, it's still kind of exploding when the first medical officer just runs straight in and helps him over the barrier.
Well, the irony of this is that where it happened, the medical car was right behind them.
Yeah, thankfully.
If it had been on the second lap, then that car wouldn't have been there. Presumably the location close to the pits means there's a fair number of marshals. Nevertheless, it was astonishing bravery by it was Dr. Ian Roberts and the driver of the car, whose name I can't pronounce or remember. But to go in there like that is astonishing.
Just kind of for no fear. Well, they obviously probably were, but what it looked like, it was
interesting. The driver of the medical car said, we practiced this. He says, obviously not that particular scenario because there were so many elements to that, and particularly go through a barrier. But fire and a medical problem where somebody's trapped in the car, they practice for it. And the drivers themselves practice getting out of the car very quickly.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably lucky that Roman Grosjean is as thin and as whippet-like as he is, because I believe he had to climb through the halo.
He did, and then straight up over the over the barrier.
Which, I mean, obviously, if I tried to do that, that's not going to it's not going to end well, to be honest. Yes. Interestingly, I picked up a thread on Twitter from a young lady who goes by the name of @LouiseF1, who's producing a thesis on the role of the media in events such as this. And we did have a little bit of a chat about it. It is a very interesting thesis, and how much information do you provide at an event like this? There was a few calls that there was far too many replays, rather, and just generally too much information. But I think, and going back to what I was saying about the incident at Goodwood, what people want to know after something like that is he okay?
Yeah.
Is the driver okay? Is anybody hurt? And that's the information they want, not necessarily lots of replays.
They did say that he was pretty okay before they did the replays, but the majority, there was a lot of replays, but they were trying to figure out what happened, because just watching the first replay of right angle, it looked like he just did it. He just drove off himself.
Yeah.
It didn't look like there was anything. He didn't hit anyone. Nobody hit him. Well, he obviously hit someone once he was off diagonally, but it didn't seem like anything happened for the car to do that until they really slowed one down, and it was on board with him, which I wasn't ready to watch. I didn't know how far they were going to show you of that, but you just saw this weird black rectangle kind of bounce towards the car, and they think he's hit that or he swerved to miss that.
Oh, right.
And that is what happened, because you see his hands turn to go right, and then you see him go to turn left again, and the car just doesn't. It just carries on straight.
Oh, interesting. Because Roman's an interesting driver, let's put it that way. And I think he gets blamed for quite a lot of...
Incidents.
Yeah, incidents. He's incident prone. So it's very easy to jump to conclusions there and say, well, it was his driving that caused it, but that will all come out in the wash. It's horrible. And I mean, fire is one of my biggest fears. It's particularly in that scenario where you're trapped in it. That must have been... I can't imagine what that was like.
Well, the first thing I said to Chris when it happened was, he's dead. There's no way he's still alive after that, because it was such a big explosion. But it just proves how much their protective wear really does work.
There is a lot of protection in the cockpit. I believe they have halon comes out, or some sort of gas that will keep the fire away from the immediate vicinity. And I think air goes into the helmet as well.
Oh, okay. So it's not breathing in the smoke.
Yeah, so they can breathe. That's been around for a very long while. And in fact, the doctor said that there was no smoke inhalation because the helmet had done its job, kept it out. So
that's good.
Yeah, so there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. I mean, the fuel cells, that was carrying, 120 odd litres of fuel. So if you think my Volvo's got a 60 litre tank, so it's twice that. And those fuel cells apparently will sustain a bullet. They're almost indestructible. So the fire was not caused by the fuel tank leaking. It was either spillage or possibly the batteries people are talking about now. So, yes, if the fuel tank had gone up, that would have been very different.
It would have.
Anyway, hopefully we'll not see anything like that again.
Fingers crossed.
Stuff will be low. And I think it was elements of a freak accident, but even so, not gave me nightmares Sunday night, I have to say.
Well, there was another accident in the race after.
There was, wasn't there? Yeah. And again, Halo.
Flip.
Yeah, Halo protected the driver, so I don't think anybody will question those.
No, definitely not.
But our next topic is the disappointment of cooking, which isn't as bad as it sounds, but I think we've all been caught out with looking at a recipe in a recipe book and going, that is fantastic. And I really only like to do recipes where there's a picture, so you have some sort of guideline.
Some reference when it comes out that is edible, because that's what it looks like in the picture. Absolutely,
some sort of reference point. Now, I have to say, I have got a book that was bought for me by a friend of mine called The Mighty Spice, which is a brilliant, brilliant book, absolutely brilliant. And the guy had set up a spice company, and he'd been around the Far East and collecting all of these recipes together, and they're great because they're quite quick to cook, and I think there are no more than 5 spices in each recipe, so it's all pretty good stuff, and they tend to turn out how it looks, with one or two exceptions. I mean, the food is brilliant.
Honestly, I don't think you've ever cooked so well in your life.
I think that's probably true, actually. There are one or two exceptions that don't quite look like that. But other stuff I've cooked in the past, it bears no resemblance to the picture whatsoever. And you get it, and particularly if you've got people around, it's a massive disappointment, because you think, I'm going to put a lot of effort into this, go and get good ingredients. You cook it. And I have a tendency to forget what's in the recipe, so I have to keep reading it. And then I spot something I hadn't done before.
Yes, I always do that.
I'm thinking, oh, crikey, I've got to I've now got to grease a thing for the oven, or...
And why does it do that? Why? Because on the ingredient list, it should say, like, diced onion, not just onion. And then, because it gets it, it's like, add your diced onion. I'm like, I haven't diced an onion. I didn't know I needed to dice an onion. Yeah, and then you have to cut one in a hurry. Your eyes watering. You lock the top of your finger off. It's blood in the cooking.
And you're just grateful it's a red onion and not a white one. And the thing that catches me out time and time again, are the words "set aside to cool." And you know the way that I tend to write out. There'll be, particularly for something like Christmas dinner, there'll be times stuff's got to come out of the oven and what have you, and then all of a sudden this bombshell's dropped where you've got to wait for this to cool. How long do you have to wait? Is it an overnight thing? 10 minutes. I can probably get 10 minutes out of the schedule, but if it's any longer than that,
is that why dinner's always late?
Not when I cook. No, dinner's on time when I cook.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's more of a timing issue for the women in our family. We are very much it'll be done by this time, and then 2 hours later we're still going.
Yes. We see, the thing is, if you've had to cook a turkey over a long period of time, and for the last few years I brined the turkey the night before, so it drastically reduces the cooking time, which is quite nice. So you don't have to get up at the crack of dawn to put the turkey in like you used to. So there's a period of time there, so you need to judge that right. Otherwise, you end up with either uncooked turkey or cold turkey. Yeah, overcooked. Well, very rarely overcooked, but if it's been out the oven for a couple of hours, it's going to start to lose its heat a bit. Although, obviously, it has to. Another thing is resting as well, which is a concept I don't quite understand, but it definitely makes a difference when you cook meat.
I think it lets all the juices settle.
There is something about that, but it just, to me, it just feels like you're letting it get cold.
Yeah.
Which is slightly odd, and you let turkey get cold, it can get quite dry.
We do HelloFresh, so we have food and recipes delivered to us every week, and I do quite enjoy that, to be honest. It's very simple.
That's handy.
Yeah. It's got little pictures for each stage. It's got a little picture of all the chopped vegetables on the chopping board, and then the chicken in the pan, and it is very easy to follow. But sometimes you pick something and you look at it and you're like, that is going to be good. And normally their curries are on point from HelloFresh. We had one last night. It's just a fragrant chicken curry, but it is really good.
Excellent.
But then we got a jalfrezi. I think we'll mix it up, get something a bit spicier. Just tasted like tomatoes.
Ooh, what a disappointment.
Yeah, it was. Oh, I don't know what it was. I was meant to get chopped tomatoes, and I got plum tomatoes tinned. It was very irony, very tomatoey, watery. That was about it.
Yeah, you see, I've got a thing about tinned tomatoes. I feel they taste metallic.
Yes.
Particularly plum tomatoes for some reason. I don't know why. So we tend to get the organic tomatoes in the tin, the chopped ones, with a thicker sauce, which don't have the same taste. Interestingly, we were discussing whether or not to put chocolate in a shepherd's pie or cottage pie.
Yes.
And apparently yes, but the chocolate takes away any acidity in the tomatoes and the taste, so it will remove that metal taste.
That's good.
Yeah.
My boyfriend makes an amazing spaghetti bolognese, and that has a whole bar of dark chocolate in it, and it is just so rich.
And does it have carrots in it?
No carrots.
That's good. See, I don't think you should. There's something about carrots visually in a bolognese sauce that's just wrong.
It's not right, is it?
It's not, definitely not.
No,
right.
We take the carrots out and we add chocolate and wine.
Yeah, that's a much better idea.
Yeah.
Much better idea.
Definitely.
It's the same as putting raisins in a curry. That's wrong as well.
That is wrong.
Yeah, that's not right at all.
Although a coronation chicken, I do like raisins in, and that's kind of a curry.
It is sort of a curry. Yeah, it's a sort of genre curry that's not quite curry.
Talking about the disappointment of cooking, I love cooking. I just have an issue with ovens.
Yes.
And microwave ovens, because we have a microwave oven at home, and there's been more than one occasion where I've turned on the oven and the microwave, and I have microwaved sausages for 30 minutes in the microwave oven.
Yes, they were pure carbon by the time you finished.
They were.
And I reckon you could have driven a car over those and they would have stayed in shape.
Well, Mum threw them outside for the slugs, and they didn't even want them, really.
We haven't had slugs in the garden for 15 years. Well, not quite that long, but you get the idea.
Rubbish, we're not coming back.
Yes. Actually, the non-microwave oven has been playing up of late.
Oh, no.
So I put something in there and after 40 minutes it was cold.
That's so annoying.
That's quite annoying.
Because then you're like ready to eat it. You're like, really looking forward to it. You pull it out.
So I've got a replacement thermostat to go in this weekend. So hopefully that will fix it. I thought it was worth spending 20 quid before you have to buy another oven.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Everything seems to be breaking at the moment, as it does when you replace it all in a year.
Yeah.
The heating's been playing up as well. That's
great.
Hopefully fixed. But get up in the cold mornings last week and it's freezing cold.
Not nice. No, it definitely has dropped the temperature as well.
Anyway, we're digressing a bit from cooking.
We have.
Yes. So I've had some epic fails over the years. Some of it has been camping with the Scouts, where we've tried to cook a stew, and it's just, you take one bite of it and you just go, that is awful.
Can't eat that.
Can't eat that. And generally, the stews tend to not be cooked for long enough when it's Scouts, because you're always hungry, because you're always doing stuff. And anything you've got left over goes in there, which is not a good idea. Really not a good idea. So, camping stews, latterly have been okay, because we've left them a long time, but as a lad, they were pretty grim.
Yeah. I've definitely had some grim stewy type. I don't even know if you could call it a stew. I don't know what it was. When I was in Tanzania for a month.
Yeah, I hate to think what meat that was.
I don't think it was, to be honest with you.
Wasn't meat?
We used to play a game where everybody ate until someone found something that looked dodgy in their dinner, and then we all stopped. Awful type.
We've spoken about this before with sailors eating in the dark because the food is just so rotten.
Yeah.
So maybe you should eat in the dark. Maybe that's the answer.
Well, we did. We had a power cut one of the nights and everybody finished their plates because no one knew what
Funny
we were
that, isn't there?
Yeah.
Was it you that was talking about the restaurant that serves you in the dark?
Yes, we are going. Well, we've been going for a year now. We haven't had the time to get it booked in. We had it booked in and then it obviously got cancelled. And then we tried to book it in again for November. Good work on us.
Yes, you're doing well with that one.
But yeah, it's called Dinner in the Dark. Well, that's not what the restaurant's called, but
yeah,
that's what the theme is called.
I find the concept really strange because if you talk to a chef, not that I've spoken to many chefs, but this is what I would imagine they would say, is that the presentation and the visual aspects of what you're eating is a major part of whether or not you enjoy the dish. And I get that if you can't see it, you'll probably explore the flavours a little bit more. Unless you're like me and like eating one thing at a time and not mixing it together.
I do like that. But I think that should be alright. I think it's a bit more separated because, I don't know, we'll have to find out. I'll let you know how it goes.
It will be interesting. But it has to be said, though, we started talking about disappointment of cooking and the fact that the food doesn't look like the photograph in the recipe book. If you turn all the lights off, it doesn't matter. You can bang anything out and it doesn't matter. So that's the answer. If you're disappointed with your cooking,
just turn the lights off. That's a great tip.
That is a top tip.
That is a top tip.
So, Lippy, Christmas films.
Christmas films. I'm still not working, still waiting for my start date. So I have been binge watching, and I mean binge watching Christmas films.
Now, you would think, because of my stance on Christmas songs, that I wouldn't like a Christmas film. But actually, I sort of do, I have to say.
And your stance on musicals as well. I feel like, Christmas films are quite musically.
They can be, but it's not music in films. I have to be very precise here.
It's people randomly bursting into song.
Exactly. And it's that odd thing afterwards where they stop singing and they just carry on as if nothing had happened. And I find that a bit odd.
If that happened in real life, you'd be like, excuse me?
Exactly. But then lots of things happen or don't happen in films. How often do you see somebody eat a meal or go to the loo? Very rarely. Unless it's an important part of the plot. So, yes, I think that's probably a bit harsh. But musicals are not my bag, let's put it that way.
But anyway, not musicals, they are Christmas films.
They are Christmas films. So my first question is Die Hard a Christmas film?
I've still never seen it.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
I know. Shocking. I might have to do it this year. It might have to be a...
I think you should. Well, we'll come on to that in a minute. So it's set at Christmas.
Yeah.
There's a Christmas party in the Nakatomi Tower, the first one, and then the second one is Christmas at Dulles Airport. So the first one was released 3rd of February 1989, so not at Christmas release date. And then the second one was released on the 2nd of July 1990, which is even less Christmassy than February. Yeah. So it does seem a bit odd that...
I feel like they're not aiming for a Christmas film, but because it's based around Christmas time...
Well, it's important to the story, really, I suppose, if you look at the characters involved, the Christmas bit's important. And I suppose the second one was a follow-on. Next Christmas we will have another.
It happens all over again.
Happens all over again. Interestingly, we've been watching Billions, which is a series on, I think it's on Sky. And it's quite interesting. Damon Lewis plays the lead character, and he's very, very good. And there was a comment somebody made about somebody using the Hans Gruber Memorial Exit, which will mean nothing to you.
No,
but if you've seen the film, you'll know exactly. And I heard that, and I thought, Hans Gruber, that name's familiar. Oh, yes. So he's the baddie, played by the late, great Alan Rickman in Die Hard 1. Or Die Hard, because they didn't know about the others. So Die Hard 1. And it was cracking. So when you see the film, you'll appreciate that.
That might be one for tomorrow then.
Possibly, although I found out last week that Dunsfold Park, which is home to Top Gear, and just down the road from where we are, not necessarily you, but they're operating a drive-in cinema between the 12th and the 17th of December, and one of the films is Die Hard.
Well, we could do that then.
Could do that. And
2 separate cars is allowed?
Yeah, you'd be right in 2 separate cars, yeah. And there's food deliveries to your car and all sorts. So,
Christmas food?
Oh, I don't know.
Like pigs in blankets?
Possibly. I have to do a bit of research.
Yeah.
I only found it yesterday, I think, so I need to dig a bit harder.
That sounds like a good idea.
So in terms of my favourite Christmas films, Elf, definitely one of those. It's brilliant,
100%.
Yeah. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which is an oldie and a goodie, and The Grinch.
I love The Grinch. I am The Grinch. The Grinch
you are The Grinch.
He's my spirit
No, you're
animal.
you're not The Grinch. No. Interestingly, Jim Carrey tweeted something or released something, I don't know quite where it came from, saying that the Grinch didn't really hate Christmas, he hated people.
Yes. Because I love Christmas, but people are annoying.
Well, no, he didn't hate them.
Well, he doesn't hate them at the end, does he? But he does find them annoying.
Definitely. People can be annoying, but obviously if you're listening to this, you are not annoying. You're
we love
a valued
you.
listener. So what other Christmas films have you been binging on?
So, I found some new ones, which I think the second one came out this year. No, it can't have. Oh yeah, it must have done. They're Netflix films, but they're called The Christmas Chronicles. And I'm not going to lie, didn't watch all of the first one because it is very much your typical Santa's delivering presents and he gets a bit stuck and 2 kids help him out and they help save Christmas. There's lack of Christmas spirit, so they have to build the Christmas spirit. You know, those kind of vibes for the first one. That's definitely been done before. But the second one is based in Santa's village. And oh my God, it was just so like whimsical and there were these cute little elves and I think it is possibly now one of my favourite Christmas films.
Oh, interesting. I've not seen either of those.
It was just very magical and everything you want in a Christmas film.
Yeah.
A little bit actiony. Santa's a bit quirky. Mrs. Claus is cracking the whip.
You'd think that's how it would be. Santa being a bit odd.
Yeah. So it's Kurt Russell is Santa.
Oh, right.
And Goldie Hawn, his wife, is Mrs. Claus.
Ah.
So it's really good, like, chemistry between them as well, obviously, because they are actually married in real life.
Yes, have been for a very long time.
I would highly recommend it as a Christmas film.
Excellent.
He's a very good Santa Claus.
Yes, he's of the right age now, I should think.
And I assume because it's called Christmas Chronicles, there's going to be more and more.
I would have thought so, yeah.
Like, what's the other one? Santa...
There's a Santa Claus.
Santa Claus.
With
and there's
Tim Allen.
Yes,
Yes.
those ones. There's loads of those.
Very good. I like Tim Allen a lot. I think he's very, very funny.
Yeah. So I think that's why I didn't really enjoy the first one, because it does remind me of the first Santa Claus.
Ah, okay.
And I thought it's not quite made up to the cut of Santa Claus.
Good. Well, top Lippy tip there for Christmas films.
Christmas films, yeah. And then obviously you've got all the other trashy ones on Netflix, like The Holiday Calendar. And...
Haven't seen that one.
No, I wouldn't watch it if I were you.
I won't. Office Party I quite enjoyed.
Yes, that's a great one.
That's quite funny.
An adult one, though.
It is an adult one, yes.
I would not advise watching it with children under the age of 16.
Not. Definitely not. No. The one film I don't get why everybody gets excited about is It's a Wonderful Life.
I've not seen it.
I've seen it once. It's just a bit depressing, to be
Yeah,
honest.
that's what I've heard. I've heard it's depressing. I'm like, why would I want to watch a depressing film at Christmas?
Yeah, it's a bit odd, but people rave about it, including Wife of Grumpy.
Yeah.
Although I don't think she's seen it since we bought it on VHS, so that's some time ago. But that's
no,
one.
She made Charlotte watch it.
Oh, it's probably on streaming now.
Yeah, probably.
But I think that's one of the films at Dunsfold Park, but I'm not going to that.
Let's not do that one.
No.
She can go if she wants by herself.
No, and in Red Dwarf, Lister, it was his favourite film as well. Is it Lister? Yeah, Lister. In the series, it was his favourite film they watched over and over again, which I don't get it.
No.
I'm sure it's a very good feel-good film at the end, but actually for Christmas, what I want is a feel-good film from start to finish.
Yes.
Or some sort of pandemonium, which is Christmas Vacation, where it's just one disaster
carnage.
over another. It is
Yeah.
basically, it's yes.
But it's Christmas carnage and it's glittery and there's lots of lights.
Yeah, it's not glittery when the brother-in-law comes with his RV and then
True.
pumps out the toilet. That's
True.
certainly not glittery.
No.
You get the gist. So, any other films that make the cut?
Home Alone, obviously.
Yes, very good. I
Yeah.
haven't seen those for many, many years.
And I was really disappointed. I am sure a week ago I saw Home Alone on Netflix. It was on Netflix. The second one is. And I'm sure the first one was as well. And we put our tree up this weekend because I know it wasn't December, but it was a month until Christmas. So we thought we could do it. So we thought we'll put the tree up and we'll watch Home Alone at the same time. Went to put it on, it's not there anymore.
How strange.
So I don't know if it was a glitch and they put the picture and stuff up for it whilst they were doing Home Alone 2 and then had to take it down because obviously they don't have the rights for Home Alone. But
For the record, I think it's perfectly okay to put your tree up and decorations for the last weekend in November.
thank you.
I think
We
that's
do.
close enough. I think that's okay.
We've got some new baubles going on
Very good.
there, yeah. Got a trip to Santa Fe planned to get even more.
Don't go over the top. Don't end up with 3 different sets of decorations depending on the year. It's just
I mean, that is the eventual plan. I want to have 2 styles and then we can alternate styles every year. That's the plan.
it's just a route to insanity, quite frankly.
It's Christmas. You can go over the top.
You can indeed. Talking of taking decorations down as opposed to up, there's a family reasonably close to us that have got some outdoor decorations that they leave up well into February.
Oh.
And which is quite interesting. And obviously they're not concerned about any of the 12th night nonsense and taking stuff down. And good for them. But it's rather odd. Their house is full of stuff. Let's put it that way. And I met them coincidentally at a car show, and they own this fantastic 1930s fire engine. And it's a lovely couple. And you think they'd be a bit rough and ready, but no, they're just like Christmas decorations.
Yeah,
and good for them.
The house is covered as well.
Yeah, it is.
It is absolutely covered, and they've got that big Santa on the tree out the front.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that Santa,
Yes.
and he's proper bright and glowy.
He is bright and glowy, yes. Yes. I'm hoping to be able to get our inflatable Santa operated this year. It's a little tricky to hold him down, as it's
There's
all
no grass
bricked.
anymore, yeah.
No grass, but I've got some heavy weight, so
Use the tree.
could use the tree. We did once have him on the extension over the garage, which was...
I can imagine that not ending so well.
Oh, it was fine. That was before I finished the bathroom, so
Oh, I see.
draped some cables in there. Anyway, we've digressed from films
to decorations.
To decorations, which is not on the playlist, as they say. Right, so Lippy, have you got a top tip for this week?
So my top tip this week is, if a task seems impossible, try it drunk.
I have to say, alcohol seems to feature quite heavily in your top tips.
It's lockdown, isn't it? So alcohol needs to feature heavily in a lockdown top tip. Once we're out of lockdown, which isn't today, it's tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow morning. I should be swimming at 6:30 tomorrow morning.
I will digress away from the alcohol, but I feel like that's a good tip.
It's an interesting tip.
Give it a go, see what happens, let us know.
I think if you were finding some sort of surgery a bit tricky, I wouldn't follow that piece of advice.
I didn't say tricky, I said impossible.
Well, okay.
They're probably not finding the surgery impossible, because I'm sure they wouldn't be doing the surgery if they thought the surgery was impossible.
Okay, so there's a bit of a caveat there.
Yes.
Which you would fail to understand if you were...
So it's like, if you've tried 50 times to get a nail out of wall, you just can't do it, have a few drinks, see what ideas come in, you might get it out. And
then the following morning you come down to find a massive hole in the wall. Where you've,
well, that's tomorrow's problem.
Okay, jolly good. Okay. Well, for my fact of the week, I had something lined up, and I found something even better this afternoon, which is astonishing. And I have checked that it is correct, and it does appear to be. So both the UK and the US versions of Dennis the Menace, created completely independently by different people who had no knowledge of the other, both debuted on the same day, 12th of March, 1951.
No.
Well, it's so outrageous I had to check it out, and as far as I can tell, it is correct.
And that would be such a weird thing for someone to make up as well.
It would be. I mean, how does that happen?
That's crazy.
On the same day. I mean, it's...
That's that weird, like, the universe mistakes type thing.
Yes, absolutely.
You see those pictures and it's like the same, two different people wearing exactly the same clothing. It's like the universe has put the wrong person in the wrong place. That is crazy, though.
It is crazy, but if you know better, then please let me know, and I'll be quite happy to talk about that.
To delete the email.
That was on Wikipedia, it must be true.
Oh, yes.
So that's it for this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I would like to thank our sponsors, however we don't have any. If you're enjoying our rambling podcasts and can spare a few pennies to help with our hosting costs, please head over to patreon.com/Lippy and Grumpy, and also leave a good review, or a bad one. If you have a topic you'd like covered, please leave us a message via our website, lippyandgrumpy.uk. So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
Goodbye.